time of year is, and that the playoffs aren't guaranteed to anybody. So it wasn't a players-only panic meeting. Make sure people keep writing that this is a meeting that we felt was necessary moving forward to going into the postseason.
All right, and so here is the entire football squad. And Dominique, I'm starting with you because we talked about this morning. When he says it's not a players-only panic meeting, what do you say?
I mean, there's no such thing as a players-only non-panic meeting. Like, players-only meetings, like, they come about because the team is in disarray and somewhat in panic. If he just wanted to reiterate how important the playoffs are and how it's not just given, you can do that in the team meeting in the morning where the coaches are. You can do that in other meetings. When you want everyone out of the room but the players, it's normally because of some emotional component or some psychological component. There's some air that needs to be cleared. There's some tension between a position group or some tension between players and coaches. There's something that needs to be discussed. There's some sort of mindset switch that needs to be made. There's no point for a players-only meeting given what we know about their situation, because what we know about their situation is they have issues with injury and they have issues with performance. You can't talk somebody into performing differently. You can't talk someone's knee into being healthy. And unless one of those players has a time machine and can take Ben Roethlisberger back to when he could hold the ball for 5 seconds in the pocket and shrug off defensive linemen, unless one of those players knows that, I'm not sure what they're meeting about.
Well, let's try and figure out what the panic is about. Louis Riddick, you had their game on Monday night. You and I were just talking before we came on. We were both shocked, frankly, at how bad they looked in Cincinnati. So if they are panicking at least a little, what should they be panicking about?
Yeah, probably a number of different things if you're going to use the word panic, although from talking to them, I really don't get the sense that they are panicking. But I will say this, their level of concern went up significantly on Monday night. And I think first and foremost for me, look, I'm worried about Ben, but I'm not like out of my mind worried about him, because I think, look, he's a professional, he's a Hall of Famer, he understands that he's not playing well. He gets that, and you could see that on Monday night. But the thing I'm really worried about with that offense is this. Their pass protection for a team that throws the ball as much as they do, you saw what happened to it on Monday night. You saw their tackles just got absolutely just ran through all night long. Carl Lawson just tortured Villanueva, the left tackle. And you see it right here on the screen. So this week they go up against the Indianapolis Colts. Have you watched the Indianapolis Colts pass rush? Have you seen what they do to quarterbacks? That's the kind of thing that worries me. If they aren't able to strike better balance in the run game and take some of this pressure off Ben to where he's dropping back 35, 40 times a game, if they don't get that figured out, they will be lucky to win one game. And that's something that surprises me to say for a team that started off 11-0, which I don't think was smoke and mirrors. I think this is a good team, but they have to get back to some sort of balance, and their offensive line has to play much, much better.
D. Wood, along those lines, like I happen to notice yesterday was the 48th anniversary of the Immaculate Reception, and for every single one of those 48 years, the one thing you knew about the Pittsburgh Steelers was that they were going to be a physical football team. So what is your reaction to what people are saying about them and what we're seeing on the tape from them right now?
Greeny, they can't impose their will on anyone. And that's crazy to think about when you talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers, because usually when someone brings up the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's synonymous with, physicality, defense, running the football, those type of things. And we all know that Big Ben is on the back nine of his career. There's no reason for Big Ben to be having to throw the ball around as much as he is. And the reason that he's doing that is they can't knock people off the ball. That's been a big recipe for Pittsburgh's success in years prior, but they just can't do that this year, and it's starting to manifest itself out right now at this critical stretch where they've lost 3 games in a row. They can't protect the quarterback, they can't run the ball, and it's exposing the whole football team.
And so, Shefty, I've been waiting all week long to get to you on this, because let's talk about the Hall of Fame quarterback. You had the story earlier in the week that Ben Roethlisberger says he wants to come back next year.
Yep.
His cap number right now is over $41 million for next year. So how does that work?
Well, he has the largest cap number of any player in the league next year, but it doesn't change the fact that he does want to play, he does want to come back, and he does want to fulfill the terms of that contract. And again, you can bring him back, and if you need more space, maybe there's a way to restructure that deal to create more flexibility to strengthen other positions. But make no mistake about the fact that he does want to return. He feels like he's having fun. He likes the team. He likes the players on this team, even though it hasn't been playing well lately. And I know Lewis mentioned a better balance. There's been no balance here, right? There's been no running game that has been able to offset everything else. There's been a lot of defensive injuries, and this is a team that's now lost, 3 straight games to teams that you wouldn't ordinarily think the Steelers would lose to. They lost to the Washington football team, then Buffalo, and then Cincinnati in what was supposed to be a get-right game, but this team did not get right.
All right, and so that's where they sit right now. That's where we begin our football conversation, but there's lots more. Shefty, let's run through the hurry up here with a bunch of other stories, and it begins in Washington. What can you tell us about where everything stands right now with Dwayne Haskins?
Look, there's a short and long-term answer here, Greeny. The short-term answer is this team still may need him on Saturday when it plays Carolina to start, because Alex Smith is not assured of being ready from that calf injury. Long-term, obviously, there are questions about Dwayne Haskins. He lost his captaincy. He was fine. And again, nobody knows whether he'll be there. There are some people who believe that it's time for him to get out of the Maryland area where there are bad influences. Marvin Lewis, the former head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals, interviewed yesterday for the Houston Texans head coaching job. I think people look at Marvin Lewis and the job he did in Cincinnati and now see it in a different light and recognize the good coach that Marvin Lewis is and can be. And if you're looking for experience in the NFL, then Marvin Lewis certainly would bring that to a franchise. He has wrapped up his interview with the Texans, and Christian McCaffrey is not expected to play again this weekend due to that quad injury, due to the ankle, the shoulder, all the nicks and pains that have built up this year. And I would wonder this, if he's not playing this weekend and this team's been eliminated from the playoffs, why would you play him in week 17? So despite the fact that Christian McCaffrey wants to play and would like to be out there, I think there's a real chance that Christian McCaffrey has played his last down in the 2020 season.
No, it's just been an injury-plagued disaster for him all year long. Shefty, thank you. Meanwhile, I want to get to New England as our next stop, and I just want to play you this entire exchange. What you're about to hear is 42 seconds, and you will get a sense. Mike Reese is our Patriots reporter, and he is the best. And he is doing his job. He's trying to find out if Bill Belichick is considering changing quarterbacks from Cam Newton to Jarrett Stidham this weekend. I just want you to hear how excruciatingly awkward this conversation was. 42 seconds worth, starting now.
Were you sticking with Cam at quarterback?
Yeah. Mike, we're not answering that question every day. I've been through this for a month.
I totally respect that. I think just with the circumstances changing over the last, last couple days with the playoffs, that's why I asked.
How about if I let you know if we're going to make a change?
That sounds good to me. Is it partly due to competitive reasons that you don't want to let the Bills know?
Like, any questions on Buffalo, Mike?
Good, thanks, Bill.
That pause is so excruciating to me. Maybe it's just the talk show host in me, but those 4.5 seconds where there is no sound, there's just that dead air, it makes me itch in places that I cannot reach to scratch. And I'm just picturing Damien Woody and Louis Riddick. Lou, I'll start with you. You played for the man.